So while we're doing reviews, I'm out here at the shop now, about to build my coilovers here using the T3 Techno toy tuning kit. Give you a quick look at it. I see, lots of people on the forums talk about this, but I never find any. There's no write-ups. Nobody actually saying, "Yep, I'm running those. I put them on like this." Nobody does it, I guess. I don't know. But so, first things first, clean up your strut housings. Cut your perches off. Your original spring perch would have been up around the top. I kind of sandblasted these and took a wire wheel or some stubborn stuff. My little handheld sandblaster doesn't do that great, but this one still has the little deal in it from the factory. That'll get pulled out and put my insert back in. So we got our sleeve here from T3. Their design is not a twin locking nut that uses a spanner wrench. Instead, they have a single locking screw in the middle that pushes a lock into the threads. These are square cut threads, so once weight is on them, with that little lock in, it won't move. It's impossible. But it's way easier when you jack the car up, loosen that screw, and you can turn this without a spanner wrench. Another thing I like about their kit is they actually include these spring tops for it. A lot of other people don't. And they are gonna fit nicely. Of course, we use iBox springs in their kit. I feel like most kits do, but the one thing that is different though is they run 8-inch springs. And I was kind of questioning that. I said, well, most people I see are running 6, maybe 7. So he assures me that they use 8s because of the extra adjustability and height. So I guess we're gonna see. I don't know what to report on that yet. Personally, I probably would have preferred 6s because I'm not gonna need more spring. I'm lowering. I don't know. I've got the kit and I'm gonna use it. So your weld-on rings, these are why you cut your original spring perch off. You're gonna weld these onto the tube. And this is not hard to do, guys. And I feel like people way overthink suspension. Now, yes, you need to do it properly. It is suspension. It can cause you to wreck your car. But it's not like rocket science. People are like, oh, you can't weld on your strut tubes. Won't be rigid anymore. No, they're welded together. No, you can weld on anything you want, bud. Take the inserts out, weld away, cut away, do whatever you want. So that'll go on. I'll find my height here, weld that on. Then the sleeve will sit on it, spring. They do have in the instruction sheet here, which is a little lacking. They're assuming you know what you're doing when you order a kit like this. They give you a basic order and some general. This is where you should weld your perch at. One thing I'm not a big fan of though is the diameter of these sleeves on the front housings. Very big gap in it. Very loose. So they've included some really thick O-rings that are gonna go on there. And I haven't actually put one on, but I'm assuming that once that's stretched on there, it's gonna make this fit a lot better. If it doesn't, and I'll probably test that first here pretty soon, because if it doesn't fit good, I'm probably not gonna do it. Because my options would either be, I could run down the street and have a piece machined to fit the outside diameter of my tube to the inside diameter of this, basically just another collar. And then they would fit securely Or I suppose you could put it on your perch there and put an O-ring on the bottom to kind of center it, and then fill it with polyurethane. That just seems like a lot of screwing around. I feel like the sleeve should be a closer match. Now I get it, these are kind of generic kits, but I just feel like it should have been a closer match. So we'll see. I let him recommend spring rate, and he did the typical 250 pound front, 300 pound rear. I just don't know how that's going to react with 8-inch length. So I guess we'll see. I'll take some pictures as I go here. So this is just a easy way to line up your new spring perch for welding. Now you want to have a bit of a gap at the top between the new sleeve and the very top of your strut. And this is so when you put your insert back in, you have room to put the nut in and tighten it up without scratching up your sleeve or risking any damage to it. These rings are about 3/16. I think an 1/8 would be fine, but an extra 1/16 isn't gonna kill us. And so now, hopefully you've got a nice flat work surface. So I know that I'm sitting good and flat. My spacers have spaced it up, and I'll probably just tack this ring in 2 spots so it stays still, and then I can weld it up. And this saves you trying to measure precisely around the tube. There's a lot of errors can be made when marking a circular object like this and then trying to hold it in position while you tack it. And this eliminates all of that. So I put one of the O-rings on the front strut tube here just to see how well the sleeve fit it with the O-ring. And it actually is a pretty good secure fit. Once I put 2 O-rings on there, I might have to lube them up a little bit to get it to slide on. So they will be good and tight. How many O-rings did it come with? 2, 4, 6, 8. So I might dig through my O-ring kit and see if I have some similar. I prefer to have maybe 3 or 4 O-rings per tube. The rears aren't nearly as bad. They fit a lot better. So I probably have smaller O-rings that were included for that. They're just really thin. Probably won't worry too much about rears, but the fronts, well, actually he gave me 8 O-rings, so I could put several. I put 4 each on the fronts. So yeah, that's what I'll do. I feel better about that. So just a quick look here, showing you what I was talking about, spacing it out. So I got my rings underneath there, so the collar is away from the end. And then I just came up, tacked my ring on, and now what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna flip it over, sit it, and I'm gonna take that ring and put it on top. And I'm looking to see that it's even with the top all the way around. And that lets me know that where I've tacked my ring on, it's good and flat. It's not tilted to one side. That looks great. So we can go ahead and weld this one. So I've got the fronts welded up now. Burned in good and deep. I was a little worried about blowing through the tube. It really wouldn't matter because we're using an insert. So it's not like it needs to be watertight or anything, hold pressure, but I didn't blow through. If you do blow through, just fill in your hole. It's not the end of the world. I'm not the best welder, but I'm certain that that is going nowhere. Stick your spring on. That'll be our top hat, and then you'll use your original strut mounts, or if you got adjustables, you'll want they have different conical hats with a bearing that works better for the adjustables, I hear. I'm not getting crazy like that, running crazy camber, trying to do autocross exact suspension or anything, so I think I'll be fine camber wise. If I get too low, I may need them just to get my wheels straight again, but we'll see. So there's that. There's the other front one. We're gonna move on to the rears, do the same thing. One thing to note, I really debated on these fronts, cutting off the mounting point and moving it up to add lowering without compromising strut travel. Because I know these cars, the AW11s, the front, they don't have a lot of travel on the struts. And that causes them to bottom out a lot, and you blow them rather quickly. So by raising the bracket up, I effectively lower the car without changing the stroke of the strut. But I could move it up a little bit. I don't think it's really gonna be worth it. If you were trying to build some race suspension, it would probably be worth it. I know some guys have cut the bottom off and cut a section out of here and move it down, and that way you don't have to cut the bracket off. But the bracket's just welded on around the bottom. It wouldn't be that hard to cut out, move. So that's what I've got, and that's a few options for you. And the main reason for doing this is really price point. I'm not looking for race suspension. I'm realistic in my goals with the car. It drives around town on the weekends. I don't live where there's curvy roads anymore, so I'm not looking for a mountain play toy. It just rolls around town. It's a cruising car. And I need to be able to lower it to fit my big wheels with my big flares. So for $500 you get this versus $1,000 for a coilover setup. And yes, coilovers are much nicer, legit, with dampening adjustment. I'm just gonna run the same old KYB GR2s, nothing fancy. They'll be just fine. Price point versus performance. This is what you get. So we're ready to put some stuff together. I have my insert here. Just a KYB GR2, nothing special. Good, cheap, work just fine for your average Joe that's riding around town. I'll show disassembling a strut housing, but I just wanted to show this because I feel like some people don't understand what the OEM struts are, what an insert strut is. This is a sealed strut. It goes into your housing, and then you have this jam nut that goes on, and you tighten it down, and that holds your insert in, and that's all it is. So if your struts are blown, you just buy new inserts and stick them in. It's a super simple job. So I'll get these all together and then we'll show putting the springs and everything on. Overall, good kit. There's a few bugs to be worked out. I believe Techno Toy Tuning is working on it. A little more involved than just swapping the coilovers, but for the money, if you don't need the dampening, these work just fine. Definitely able to lower it more than enough. Thanks for watching.